Colt's POV. Dinner was spectacular, Sam said, putting down his napkin and sighed in contentment, rubbing his belly. That was one thing Sam could never lie about, food. He would make such a big scene to tell you if your food met his standards. I guess the Silver Moonstone Pack just did. Compliments to the chef, Gray said. The food was wonderful, thank you. Gray, on the other hand, would make his food disappear and feed the dog under the table if he didn't approve. Then he lied with a smile when he got caught, blaming the dog for looking kind of hungry and needing to be fed. I am glad you enjoyed it, Luna Melissa said, looking down at Ellie in her arms. She and Alpha Duncan had joined us earlier, and she didn't touch much on her plate. I guess that was expected with everything that had happened. I hope you ate enough, she said, looking at me. After all you have done for us, I don't want you to go to bed starving. I nodded my head and gave her a small, tender smile. The food was great. Thank you, I said. My voice sounded tired to my ears. I sighed. Ellie's face was constantly popping up in my mind. All I could see was how scared she was standing there alone. If I was 5 minutes too late, Ellie would have been washed down the river. My heart ached painfully in my chest as the memory replayed in my mind. We found Ellie standing in the center of the river on a rock, shivering and crying out of fear. She was left there with no way to escape. The water was rising with every ticking second, making it almost impossible to get to her. Who would be so heartless as to leave a pup there? What's the plan? Ray asked, breaking my chain of thoughts. Ellie saw us, and she turned her face, looking and pleading at us. Not sure, I said, seeking a place to cross safely. Even if we jump from this side to there, the chances are high that we might push her over. Call Gray, I ordered. He was the strategic one. He would know what to do. Ray threw his head back and howled, calling Gray. Gray answered a second later, sounding way too far off. Ellie was now getting impatient, and she started to moan. She couldn't understand why we were pausing and not going to get her. Thunder and lightning roared above us, making Ellie even more afraid. Then we watched in horror as the lightning hit a nearby tree, splitting it in two. Fear sprouted through my body. One of the pieces had broken off, and it was being washed straight towards Ellie. Oh, goddess, help, I prayed. There was no more time to wait for Gray. There was no more time to decide on a plan. There was no more time to waste. Before I knew what I was doing, I ran, jumped, and grabbed Ellie's clothing, hoping that her clothes wouldn't rip and she would fall into the water. In those few seconds that I removed her from the rock, everything moved in slow motion. I saw Ellie's horrified face, the water forcing the tree towards her and me, flying and grabbing her to safety. We came down hard. Ellie cried. My heart pinched. Thank the goddess, she was okay. I crawled to Ellie's side, pulling her tiny body away from the river, and pushed her into my chest and fur, trying to keep her body warm while waiting for Gray to arrive. Colt? Colt, wake up, man. Gray's voice shook me awake. I forced my eyes open, unsure what I was looking at or where I was. Are you all right? He asked, coming closer. Did I fall asleep? My gaze fell on the river, and my eyes flew open out of panic, searching for Ellie. Ellie is fine, Gray said. She is snuggled up in your fur. Wait, what? Gray pointed his muzzle toward my chest, and a wolfy grin followed. Gray always loved kids. He wanted a bunch of them. That was one of the main reasons why he was so upset about not being able to track Ellie any further. You found and saved Ellie, he said, sounding like a question. Yeah, it was a close one, I said, looking toward the tree. Gray's eyes widened, and he must have understood what must have happened. Come on, he said. I found an area where we could safely cross. Colt? Kate's soft voice called me, yet I was too sucked up in the memory. Anger and hatred had taken over and were poisoning my mind. I pledged that whoever did this to Ellie would suffer the consequences. I will find them and make them pay. My gaze moved to where Luna Melissa sat, holding Ellie. She was now sleeping soundly. No traces of the events were shown on her pretty little face. Yet my heart grew darker for her sake. My gaze found Luna Melissa, and she smiled warmly at me. I had a feeling that she would never leave that little one in anyone else's care again, which was expected but so unfair. I didn't blame her. Colt? Kate called again, and I turned my gaze toward her. Yes, I am fine, I said, looking confused at her. Okay, she said, smiling and looking back at my brothers. I am glad you are fine, but I didn't ask you how you felt. I asked if you would like something to drink." Sam and Gray chuckled behind their hands, and I knitted my eyebrows together, confused. Was I so out of it that I didn't hear my mate asking a question? Was this bothering me more than I thought it would? "No thanks," I said, getting to my feet. "If you would excuse me, I am tired and going to bed." "Get some good rest," Luna Melissa said, taking and squeezing my hand. I nodded, trying to smile, yet I felt miserable and angry as hell. "Alpha, Luna," I said, bowing my head out of respect and leaving the table. Yet, before I could even reach my room, an urgent knock came from the front door. I sighed. "Who would want to bother us at this time of night?" I mumbled, irritated. I could feel everyone's gaze shifting toward the door and me, curious to see who was at the door. What we learned next sounded an alarm, not only in the Silver Moonstone Pack, but in my heart as well. Catherine's POV. I shivered in fear. This can't be happening. This can't be true. "No, no, no," I growled. "No!" "Kate, are you okay?" my mother asked, concerned. She wasn't used to my outburst, and it was out of character for me to behave like this among guests and at the dinner table. "No," I said, feeling a cold shiver run down my spine. "Please tell me." I couldn't say his name. It had awakened fear inside me. "I am sorry, sis," Jimmy said. "But it is confirmed Brian has escaped. I checked his cell myself. There isn't a trail left." "Due to the rain," I said. I should have known. "Did you check?" "Every cell?" he asked, and I nodded. "Yes, he isn't in there either. It was like he walked right out of there. The door of his cell was left wide open." "Like he was taunting you," Gray said. "He is showing you all he was able to leave without anyone knowing." "How the hell did he get out?" Sam lashed out, his hands balling into fists. "Who is responsible for this?" My gaze moved to Colt's. He was staring before him, deep in thought. He has been acting strangely since he came back with Ellie. His face looked colder than usual, his eyes almost gray, like a storm was brewing inside him, and his facial muscles were jumping around his jaw as if he were ready to explode. Did the events break something inside him? "What do the guards have to say about him escaping?" Sam asked. "Why weren't they there? Who permitted them to leave their post?" Jimmy sighed. He looked guilty. "I gave the order." He said, "We needed to find Ellie," and his gaze moved to our baby sister. "Everyone was worried about her. I needed to get everyone bored in the search." I couldn't be angry at Jimmy. He did know Brian would do that, and he did this out of love for our sister. I sighed. "Whoever released Brian took great care to ensure you didn't notice him leaving," Gray said. "They played us like a violin and used Ellie as leverage. She could have been hurt, even killed, and that was because of Brian." My insides roared out of anger. My blood was boiling inside my veins. How could they do this to Ellie? How could Brian allow this? He was a beta for Goddess's sake. He should take care of the pack, not hurt innocent pups. Did he have no humanity left inside him? "Is Beta Harold informed?" my father asked, breaking my chain of thought. My father was quiet most of the time, just asking questions when he needed clarity about something. "Yes," Jimmy said. "He came as soon as he heard. He ordered me to inform you." My father nodded his head. He didn't look too angry about the situation, which made me suspicious. Did he know that Brian would plan something like that? "Do you think someone helped him, Father?" I asked, hoping that Brian wasn't capable of doing all this alone. It could create a huge risk for the pack and its members. On the other hand, who would have helped him escape and why? Who would go against and betray their alpha to let a prisoner escape? Not just any prisoner. A prisoner who could make the pack fall into ruins. Was it Beta Harold? Would he dare go against his best friend and Alpha's decision? I remember the sad look he gave me when he came to visit me in the infirmary. His heart was ripped in two. He could barely look at me. Would he sacrifice everything to save his son's life? I know I would if it were my pup. I believe whoever kidnapped Ellie is responsible for Brian's escape, my father said, turning his gaze toward me. I'm just not sure if more than one person is involved. Who would do such a thing? I snapped angrily. Brian knows all our pack secrets. My father sighed and got to his feet. He carefully stroked Ellie's head and smiled, then gave my mother a tender look before he walked off toward the fire. I am not worried about him giving out pack secrets or hurting more pack members, he said, staring into the fire. Why not? I snapped, Brian was a threat to the whole pack. My mother glared at me, warning me to cool down, and I sighed. Working myself up wasn't going to fix the problem. We need to get Brian back behind bars. What are you worried about then, Alpha? Gray asked, getting up. They just used your youngest daughter for. I know, he said, cutting him off and turning to look at him. But I also know her disappearance forced Kate to come back home. You are worried about Kate's safety? Colt asked, turning his gaze toward my father. I am, my father said. Why only her safety? Sam asked. Is there something you are not telling us? Gray asked. My father pulled his lips into a thin line, looking at my mother, and she nodded her head. I guess there were more things that they were hiding from me. Brian has been acting differently since the day he found out Kate is. My father choked. He couldn't say the word disabled. It was hard for him to accept that I was bound to a wheelchair. He had high expectations for me to become a strong warrior and be a great Luna one day. I wasn't capable of reaching those goals anymore, and it wasn't sitting well with him. As much as he loved me, he just couldn't hide his feelings, no matter how hard he tried. I have become disappointed in his eyes, a liability to the pack, and now I have my lunatic ex-mate trying to kill me. The raw emotion of anger was clearly in my father's eyes every time he saw me in the wheelchair. Some days he even looked sad. Other days he was depressed. Those emotions hurt me, and I secretly wished that things ended differently and that I had died that day in the fire. Maybe then he would still have that proud look in his eyes when he thought of me. Now those emotions, sad, depressed, and angry, make me feel broken and unwanted, and a failure in his eyes. Disabled, Sam said, and my father nodded his head. He tried to find a remedy to cure Kate's disability when he found out she couldn't walk, my mother said, and everyone's gazes snapped toward her. Wait, what? Brian tried to help me. Why did he change for the worse? He was angry and disappointed at himself for what he did, rejecting Kate, my father continued. He blamed himself for her disability. He wanted to make amendments when she returned, my mother continued. He wanted to try again. Gray growled. Sam hissed. Colt stared at the fire, his face hardening. Is that why he reacted? My thoughts trailed off. This was too much to process. Yes, my father said, but I never thought he would snap and try and kill you. Colt's POV. I found Kate and Gray in the garden playing with Ellie, all traces of last night's worries washed away. Ellie threw her head back, giggling out of joy. The sound was so beautiful that it put a smile on my face. I could just imagine it, playing with my pups outside under the old oak tree. Oh, goddess, I hope to have many beautiful, happy pups with Kate one day. Kate looks a bit more relaxed this morning, Sam said, startling me as he walked closer. He had a white towel hanging over his shoulder and was dressed in gym wear. Did you have a workout or something? Gray asked, laughing, heading our way. He must have noticed that I was up and had come outside for my morning coffee. Kate disappeared into the pack house with Ellie on her lap, cooing to her little sister that it was time to have her diaper changed. Sort of, Sam said, laughing. Kate suggested I join the pack training this morning. Kate suggested it? I asked, shocked. Yeah, sure, Sam said, taking a seat at the garden table. She said she wants me to stay fit and healthy. I raised my eyebrows at him, not believing my ears, and Gray's shocked expression looked similar to mine. What? Sam asked, sounding startled. It was an interesting experience. Interesting experience? I mocked. Sam hates exercising. He and Luca would do anything except train. Eating was more his idea of training to see how much he could fit in his belly. Yet he was as fit as a fiddle and as strong as an ox. Sure, he said. I even picked up a few ideas and tips that we could use in our pack. And just like that, Gray snapped his finger, you became an expert in this field. Gray was responsible for the pack training back home. He had a whole training schedule set out for everyone to follow. We started training at a very young age. Pups as young as 5 years old were taught basic survival skills. We needed to be prepared for the worst-case scenarios. In the werewolf world, you never know when your next attack will be, and with the groups of rogues going around searching and harassing packs, we had no other choice but to be fit and ready. That's not what I am saying, Sam argued, shaking his head. I just find our training schedule a bit boring. Boring? Gray gasped, his eyes popping out of his head. finding Sam's words insulting. What's boring about my training schedule? Sam rolled his eyes and looked my way for help. Oh no, you don't, I warned him. Don't look my way and pull me into this. You started this argument. This one is all on you. I have no say. Really? Sam said, looking annoyed at me. The soon-to-be alpha has no say in training? No, yes, no, I said. Here we go again. Sometimes I just want to wring my brothers' necks. If they started arguing about something, I always needed to end it. Being the eldest and soon-to-be alpha, my decision was always final. Which one is it? Sam snapped. Yes or no? Gray growled. How the hell did I get myself into this? I just wanted my morning coffee in peace. Look, I said, lying forward in my seat. It is the beta's responsibility to work out a training schedule. Gray sat back and smiled. However, I said, lifting a finger. Gray, Sam is right. Our training schedule is a bit boring and dull. Let's have some fun added to it. Gray's face dropped. Are you serious right now? Gray growled, getting to his feet. Fun? Training shouldn't be fun. It needs to be taken seriously. Hey, I said, stopping him. Sit down. Gray rolled his eyes and huffed, annoyed, as he took a seat at the table. He refused to even look at me. Kate wanted Sam to go to training, so there must be a reason why he needed to go. I mind-liked. Maybe it is to up our training. Maybe there's another reason. Maybe it's just to get him to get some exercise? Gray snapped over the link. Maybe, I said, and maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea if Sam and you did a training schedule together. You gotta be kidding me, Gray growled, looking at me as if I had just lost my mind. I am not, I snapped. Remember we needed to get Sam into training? His shifting time stinks. Gray sighed over the link. I could hear him weighing his options, but I already knew I had won this round. So what do you suggest I do? Gray hissed, pissed and giving in. Let him help you with a schedule. Listen to his suggestions and make it work. I linked him. Whatever you do, just get him to exercise and shift faster. It doesn't help that he only shifts quickly in a life-or-death situation. He is constantly delaying us. Fine, Gray said, defeated, turning his gaze to give Sam a death glare. He didn't like this idea at all. Then it's settled, Sam said, smiling. Good, I said, lying back on the chair. Can I now have my coffee in peace? Would you like the newspaper with that? Kate's voice called from behind me, and I turned my gaze, seeing her stretching out her arm with the paper in her hand. I would love that, thanks, I said. But I don't think I would get much reading done with my brothers constantly quarreling about something or nothing. Kate chuckled. I guess it's because Sam joined the morning training? She asked. Yeah, I said, pulling her wheelchair closer. I heard our training at home is boring. I can't comment on that, she said, laughing. But it was Kia's idea to have him look around at the training grounds. Kia? We all gasped, surprised. What did she have to say? Yeah, Kate said, looking a bit uncomfortable. It was weird. Weird how? Gray asked. She said something about everything was about to change. Catherine POV. We left for the White River Pack just after breakfast. It was hard to say goodbye again, but at least everyone was now safe. It was Colt's idea to bring me along, and no one dared argue with that. Not that my father had any other choice. My parents' revelation about Brian's dream of having me as a mate created quite a stir among the wolves. I have never seen them so angry, so jealous, so protective, and so possessive. The triplet wolves took over, and they shifted into the living room. They followed rank and centered me between them. My mother was horrified when she heard the cracking of bones. She didn't expect the triplets to act that way, and she immediately left the quarters with Ellie. Not that I was worried. The triplets would never do anything to hurt Ellie or anyone in my family, not on purpose anyway. I have seen it in their eyes. They loved the little pup just as much as I did. My father and brother, on the other hand, stood their ground. They watched as the three wolves took shape and flanked me. It was magical to watch how protective they were. Colt's aura was strong and dominant. My father and brother had a hard time keeping their composure. Father, I said, I think you should leave. I can't leave you like this, he argued. Was he afraid of what the triplets wolves would do? Were they that scary? They could hurt you if they lose control, Jimmy stated, his worried gaze finding mine. I shook my head. Luca whimpered next to me, and Duke pushed his massive head onto my lap, his cold, wet nose tickling my arm. They will not hurt anyone, I said. They are just upset. Ray turned his massive head toward me. I could read the worry about my parents' words in his eyes. Did they understand it wrong? Were they overreacting? My parents would never stand between anyone and their mate, or in my case, mates. They have accepted them. Were the wolves believing that my parents would hand me over to Brian? Ray, I called. Give Colt control back. My parents have accepted you and your brothers as my mates. They are not going to take me from you. Ray looked at me, searching for any clue that I was lying. After a moment, he nodded, and seconds later, Colt stood in Ray's place. How did you do that? Colt gasped, looking at me bewildered. Did what exactly? I asked, not sure what he was referring to. To get Ray to shift back? He said. I have been fighting for control ever since he blocked me off and shifted. He refused to listen to me. I just asked, I said, looking between my father and him. No, Colt said, shaking his head. It was as if you compelled him to do what you wanted him to do. Oh, I said, surprised. I don't know. Colt turned his attention to my father. My father looked a bit startled at what he had just seen, yet he didn't say a word. Alpha Duncan? Colt said seriously. Kate will be leaving with us tomorrow morning. We are her mates, and it is our responsibility to look after and protect her. My father wanted to say something at first, but Luca and Duke turned their gaze toward my father and got to their feet. Were they trying to intimidate my father? Will my father be allowed to be intimidated by 3 young alpha wolves? My father nodded his head, accepting the arrangements. Luca, Duke, there are no enemies here. Give your humans control, I whispered to them. Duke lifted his head from my lap, pleading. Come on, big guy, I said, rubbing the back of his ears. You know that we are not allowed to shift indoors. Duke rolled his eyes and took a step away from the wheelchair. He wasn't too happy about shifting back, but he did as he'd been told and shifted back into gray. I turned my attention to Luca, standing there, looking at the door. Don't you even think of running off, young man, I said, and Luca lifted an eyebrow before he turned his gaze toward me. Now shift, before you knock something off the table. Luca pulled his ears against his head, thinking I was angry at him, and I couldn't help but giggle at his face. No, I am not angry, but I am going to be if you don't give Sam control back, I said. Luca stared back at me for a moment, unsure if I really would be angry if he didn't listen. I tell you what, I said, deciding to negotiate. You can take me on a special tour when we arrive at your pack. How does that sound? Luca yapped and wagged his tail, looking very excited. Okay, buddy, it's a date, I said. Now shift and give control back to Sam. Sam's shifting went faster than I thought it would. In less than a minute, Sam stood next to me. You are amazing, Sam said, kissing my forehead. I did nothing special, I said. I just asked your wolves to shift back. Any person could do that. No, my father said, and my attention snapped to my father staring at me in disbelief. I pushed the wheelchair toward my father, looking at him confusedly. What do you mean by no? I asked. Normal wolves can't order an alpha wolf to shift back, my father said. I didn't order them. I just asked them. Yet my father shook his head. Okay, maybe because they are my mates. They listen to me, I said. No, he said, shaking his head again, but instead of explaining what he knew, he and Jimmy turned on their heels and rushed out of the quarters, slamming the door behind them. Well, that went well, Sam said. Indeed, now there is even more confusion and mystery to uncover, Gray said, looking at me. It's an interesting gift, Colt added. I don't know what you are all going on about, I said, lifting my shoulders in a don't-know gesture. A penny for your thoughts, Sam said, breaking my chain of thoughts and bringing me back to reality. He was fiddling with his phone in his hands and had that annoying, cocky smile on his lips. I'm just thinking, I said, feeling my face fluster. Sam was up to something. I could see it on his face. Is that so? He asked. Yes, I said, looking him dead in the eyes. Sam made sure he slept between my legs again last night. He claimed that spot. Sam set his phone down and leaned over to me with a grin. I shivered as his hot breath fanned against my nape. Princess, he said, his voice husky and low. I hope the only thing you are thinking of is how hard and long we are going to fuck you later tonight. My breath hitched and my core clenched, soaking my underwear at the thought. Oh, goddess! Here comes trouble. Sam moved away from me, his eyes pitch black. He took a long and deep whiff before he leaned back. You still smell as mouth-watering as the day we found you, he whispered. I just want to rip that piece of clothing out of the way to be able to taste you. A nervous giggle escaped my lips, and I pushed Sam back playfully. Not now, Sam, I said, trying to be serious. Are you sure? He asked, lifting an eyebrow and licking his lips. That's not what your body tells me, and I am already hard for you just by smelling your arousal. I bit my lip, feeling my face heat up even more. Oh, goddess, help me. We can do a quickie, Sam suggested. Just you and me, right here, right now, in the back seat of the car. I'll even pull you into my lap and you can ride me. I felt like a deer caught in headlights, unsure of what to do. The offer sounded pure bliss to my ears, and my body was already hot and bothered just thinking of it. We are here, Colt yelled out, startling me. He caught my gaze in the rear mirror and cheekily smiled at me. Were the boys testing me to see if I would do something like that? And if they were, would I play along? Colt's POV. Mother, we are home, Sam called down the hallway as I entered the foyer. I dropped our luggage on the foyer floor and turned to go help Gray with Kate when my mother appeared from the kitchen. I lifted my nose to the air, finding the sweet scent of freshly baked muffins in the air. Was she having guests over? I narrowed my eyes. This was the middle of the week. Usually she would be at some kindergarten school doing a reading for the pups. Something is off, Ray said, pacing up and down my mind. Oh, you are back, she said, looking kind of surprised as she kissed Sam's cheek. I thought you were only coming back on Friday. Yeah, Sam said. We planned to. Did something happen? She asked, turning her attention to me. Change of plans, I said, heading toward the door. Oh, my mother said. If I knew you were returning home so early, I would have arranged a proper welcoming dinner for you three. No need, I said. We will order takeout. Kate loves Italian food, and I'm thinking of ordering some from Latinos. Kate's here? My mother gasped, becoming anxious. What's wrong with my mother? Sam linked, picking up the same vibe as I did. Not sure, I said, but I have a feeling she is up to no good. It seems so, he said, linking back and turning his attention back to our mother. Yeah, we brought her with us, Sam said. She is our mate, and she needs to get used to being our us and the pack. Oh, okay, my mother said, fiddling nervously with her apron. Mother, why do you look so? Luna Mary, a familiar, friendly voice called from the kitchen, cutting me off, and Sam froze. Is that? Sam asked, looking pained. My mother looked like a deer caught in headlights, keeping silent. It would have been funny and a major Kodak moment if we hadn't had our mate here right now. Mom, seriously? I growled, livid, understanding the silence. The girl appeared at the kitchen entrance carrying a tray. Are these muffins? The girl asked, looking at the contents on the tray. Amy? Sam whispered, and the girl looked up. Startled, her hands flew to her lips out of surprise, and she dropped the tray on the floor. Sam's feelings for the girl spilled over into the triplet bond we shared, and I could feel his mixed emotions flying in all directions. Oh no. I knew Sam loved Amy, but I never knew he had so many feelings for her. Sammy? Amy called out in surprise, the same second Gray pushed Kate's wheelchair into the foyer. Amy jumped into Sam's arms, locking her legs around his waist, embracing him and crushing her lips to his. Sam stiffened under Amy's touch, and he tried to push her off, yet Amy managed to hold on to Sam for dear life. My gaze moved toward Kate, seeing her eyes fixed on them. She didn't say a word, but I knew the damage was already done. The room fell silent around us, everyone staring at the two in disbelief. When Sam managed to set Amy down, Kate lifted her gaze toward me and smiled. Are you going to introduce me to your friend? She asked. There was no anger or disappointment in Kate's voice, just curiosity. It took me a moment to understand what she was saying. I was surprised that she didn't even growl at Amy. If someone dared touch what was mine, I would have a field day ripping him apart. Yes, I said. Sorry, where are my manners? Kate, this is Amy, a girl we used to date. Amy, this is our mate, Kate. Nice to meet you, Kate said, holding out her hand. Amy stared down at Kate for a moment in absolute disbelief and disgust. You said, our mate? Amy asked, looking bewildered between us. Yes, our mate, Gray said, sounding angry. He saw what happened, and I was surprised that he didn't intervene between Sam and Amy. Like all three of us are mated to Kate and only Kate. Is this true, Sammy? Amy asked, her eyes shooting full of tears. You are mated to that thing in the wheelchair? Gray growled, finding Amy disrespectful, and I needed to keep my temper at bay for not going at my mother. I am, Sam said, sounding a bit sad. Are you marked? Amy asked hopefully, looking up at Sam. Why are you here? Gray growled, cutting Sam's answer off and pushing Kate's wheelchair deeper into the foyer. Your mother invited me, Amy said proudly, and she started rubbing Sam's belly. Sam looked bewildered around for help, and the more he tried to push Amy's hands off him, the more she was sticking to him. She wants us to put the past behind us and start over, Amy declared. Our gazes snapped at my mother in disbelief. She was silently standing there, deep in thought. What was she playing at? Did she think that if she brought Amy here, we would fall for her again? I think it goes deeper than that, Ray growled. Something doesn't add up. You might be right, I said. We need to get to the bottom of this before it creates more damage. Is this true, Mother? Gray growled, expanding his aura. Gray's aura could be just as strong as mine on days when he was pissed, yet the aura I was now feeling was dark and dangerous. Was he about to explode out of anger? Did he have enough of my mother's childish games? Gray, Kate said, taking his hand into hers. She had a soft smile on her lips, and I couldn't believe her self-control. Don't worry about it. Your mother has the right to fix what she has broken in her home. But leave it, Kate pleaded. Rather, show me to your room. Gray nodded and gave Amy and our mother a dirty look before he pushed Kate down the hallway. My gaze snapped toward my mother. I was about to lose it and wring her neck. 10 minutes, my office, I hissed. And make sure you bring your father. Colt's POV. How dare you? I roared the second my mother walked into my office, getting to my feet. I was furious, blinded by rage. I have never been this angry at someone. If the father had been in the room, I might have used more colorful words towards her. She was middling with things that weren't concerning her. How could you? Gray lashed out next to me. He had calmed down, but his dark and aggressive aura was still moving around him. Sam had decided to skip the meeting. He wanted to spend some time with Amy, which added to my anger and annoyance. We just got Kate to trust us, and now it has gone down the drain because of the little stunt my mother pulled. Now, boys, this is not how you talk to your mother, my father warned. Yet, she is allowed to meddle in things that don't concern her, I snapped. My father sighed, looking toward my mother. My father knew exactly the reason why I packed up and left, and that my mother was the main reason for that decision. Mary, my father called, holding out his hand to his mate. What do you have to say about this? Nothing, she said. I am innocent. Innocent, Gray growled next to me. You brought Amy back. It was time to make amends, my mother said. I felt horrible about what I had done to her in the past, and I wanted to make it up to her. Horrible, Gray snapped, annoyed. You felt horrible? You forced her out of our lives. With good reason, my mother argued, keeping her composure. So now you are going to do this to our fated mate, Kate? I asked. My mother fell silent, and my father turned his gaze toward her, looking at her confused. Mary? He questioned her, waiting for her response, yet she didn't say a word. Oh no, Mary, he pleaded. Please tell me what the boys are saying is not true. My mother turned her face away from my father, and she sighed. I didn't have a choice, she said. What do you mean by that? My father asked. I can't have my sons be mated to some disabled person, my mother yelled at my father, getting to her feet. Gray took a step toward my mother, anger radiant around him, but I stopped him. Don't, I linked. Let her talk. At least we know what is going on in her head and the reason for all this. She is insulting Kate, our mate, he argued. I know, I said. Just hold on. I would rather have them mated to a low-ranking Omega than a disabled thing who can't even go to the bathroom without help. My mother yelled, and our gazes snapped back at her. Hell, your mother has anger issues, Ray commented. What is her issue with Kate? She doesn't know her. What is this really about? I asked, looking at my father. I have a feeling that this is going deeper than what you are telling me. My father looked toward my mother, lifting his eyebrows at her. No, she gasped, taking a step toward the door and shaking her head. Or you tell them, or I will, my father warned, but they do have the right to know. My father was always a very open and fair alpha. He didn't believe in keeping secrets. Secrets make us vulnerable. Are our parents keeping a secret? Gray linked, surprised. Seems so, I said, staring at the two. My mother had turned gray in her face, and she looked as if she were about to pass out. I'm curious to know what it is, Gray said. Me too, I linked back. Maybe if we knew what my mother's reason was, we could get her to back off. The room fell silent, and only my mother's angry, hard breathing could be heard. Know what? I asked, crossing my arms around my chest. My father sighed. You should tell them, he said, pleading with my mother. My mother stuttered, sitting down and staring at her hands. What is the big secret? Gray asked, not able to contain his curiosity. I narrowed my eyes at him. What? He linked. I want to know. Yeah, but you are acting like Sam. Yeah, I growled over the link. It's kind of fun, he commented. Not when it involves our mate, I said, turning my attention back to my parents. Are you two going to say something? I asked. My mother took a deep breath, shaking her head. Fine, then I will, my father said. Okay, what is the big secret? I asked. I am not your mother's fated mate, he said. That caught us by surprise. We didn't expect to hear that. What happened? I asked. Was he a rogue or something? Gray asked. My father took my mother's hand in his, then nodded his head, indicating that she should tell us her story. He was something, she said, looking up. A small smile formed on her lips as she thought about him. I was surprised that my father didn't feel any jealousy toward him. My fate mate was an Omega, my mother said. That surprised me even more. And you didn't want him because of his rank, Gray growled next to me. No, on the contrary, we loved one another, she said. And the bond made us inseparable. Then why did you reject him? I asked, gritting my teeth. I didn't, she said, and my mother's words hung in the air for a minute. What happened then? Did he die? Another deep breath escaped my mother's lips. My fated mate tried to reject me because of who I was. He knew he would never be able to fill the shoes of an alpha. He wasn't strong enough. He couldn't be a leader or have the skills to strategize and protect the pack. So, he rejected you, I snapped. What does it have to do with Kate? Don't you see? My mother lashed out. She is just like my fated mate. She is weak, she can't lead, and she will make you vulnerable. Kate is not like that, I yelled back. Colt, I didn't accept the rejection, and my mate got killed a few days later, she said. My mother fell silent, and tears rolled down her face. She looked heartbroken. I found your mother a few days later, wandering in the woods, my father said. She and her fated mate had run off. I got my mate killed, she said. The rogues scented my rank, and my mate tried to protect me. I am your mother's second chance mate. She is my fate, my father said. I never got over the fact that I was responsible for my mate's death, my mother said. I don't want you to go through that pain of losing a mate like that. Catherine POV. I had David, the triplet brother, escort me to the gardens. He was a nice kid, and he reminded me a lot of Jimmy. When he heard about his brother's return, he came running to meet and greet them, just to walk in and see Amy kissing Sam. David was a bit confused at what he saw, and when he saw Gray push me out of the foyer, he ran around and caught up with us in Gray's room. What was that all about, brother? He asked, walking up to us. Mother, Gray hissed under his breath, unlocking the door of his bedroom. Are you being serious? He asked, eyeing me. Would she go that far? Yeah, that's our mother for you, Gray said, pushing the door open. Gray came around and pushed the wheelchair into the room. It looked very similar to the one he had at the beach house. Colt requested an urgent meeting with my parents, Gray said. Will you be okay being here alone? The meeting shouldn't take too long. I nodded. I guess that's your younger brother, I asked. Jimmy told me about him. They were in the same year. Shh, sorry, Gray said, pulling his hands through his hair. Yes, this is David, my younger brother. Nice to meet you, David, I said, holding my hand out to shake. David didn't hesitate and took my hand in his. Nice to finally meet the girl my brothers are smitten with. You are sure beautiful, he said, looking at Gray. Gray smiled proudly. And smart, Gray added. Will you keep Kate company for me, please? Sure, he said. I would love to. Gray gave David instructions to stay with me, which for obvious reasons David didn't mind. I guess the kid was curious to know who I was. I found him a bit amusing. He looked a lot like his brothers, yet he had the same blonde hair as Luna Mary. Except for David's charms and beauty, he had one flaw around women. He had verbal diarrhea. He just couldn't stop talking, and some of the conversations flowed over to the next. When we finally reached the patio doors, I had a full rundown of the history of the pack, who had built the huge pack house, what kind of training they do here, and a full history of their family. "So," he said, as soon as we were outside, "you are my brother's mate." I knew it wasn't a question, yet I answered it. "I am. So why didn't you react to Amy kissing Sam?" he asked. "Gosh, did he see that?" "Sorry," he said when I didn't answer. "I didn't mean to pray." "No," I said, smiling. "You are not." "Then why didn't you react?" he asked again. "I am not sure," I said. "Maybe because part of me knows that Sam will be better off with Amy." "Why?" he asked, looking at me confused. "You are too young to understand," I said, pushing my chair down the path. "Kate," he said, "wait up. Gray is going to kill me if something happens to you. The worst that can happen to me is that I would slip, put the chair down onto me, and nip my knees," I said. "Yeah, but we don't want that. I value my life too much," he said, looking at me nervously. "Relax," I said, pulling a flower closer and smelling it. "I actually need to thank you." "Thank me for what?" he asked, looking at me like I had gone mad. "Well, for starters," I said, turning my gaze to look at him. "You gave up your free time to accompany me to the gardens, and you made me feel welcome. Sam was supposed to take me on a tour through the pack, but now that responsibility has been dumped on David." I swallowed hard, blinking the tears back. Why was this hurting me this much? Why did it feel like Sam was betraying me? "Are you okay?" David asked, squatting on my level. I gave him a small nod and tried to smile, yet the tears burned even harder behind my eyelids. "Yeah, I am," I said, turning the wheelchair around and pushing myself further down the path. I wiped the tears from my eyes and prayed that my voice wouldn't break. "Oh, and secondly," I said, smiling, "you kept me company while your brother was in a meeting." My smile faltered, and my heart pinched hurtfully in my chest upon seeing Sam standing with Amy just a couple of feet further down at some kind of pond. He had his hand on the small of her back, both looking at the water. My heart broke. They looked so perfect together. They looked like they were made for each other. They were perfect for each other. I could barely breathe when Sam turned to look down at Amy, taking her face in his hands. I turned my gaze away, not wanting to see him kiss her. Sam has changed his mind about me. He was going to make her his mate. I turned the wheelchair around and pushed myself away. Maybe I should never have left for Switzerland. Maybe I shouldn't have accepted Brian's rejection. Maybe I should have given him a second chance. Maybe I shouldn't have overreacted when I found out Sarah was carrying Brian's pup. Maybe I could have forgiven him. I burst into tears, feeling the pain of the unknown ripple through my body. Would things have been different then? Would things have been better then? Would we have been able to patch things up between Brian and me? Would I have been able to forgive him, move on, and be happy? I shook my head, bewildered, knowing that I didn't love Brian anymore. It would never have worked. I was in love with my mates, and I was about to lose a part of that love to someone else. "Kate!" Gray called and quickly wiped the rest of my tears from my face, and I looked up. What I saw next sent a wave of emotions into our relationship. Colt's POV. "What the hell did you think you were doing?" I growled in disgust. Gray had done a proper number on Sam's face, splitting his left eyebrow open and his lip. David and I had to pull Gray off Sam. Gray was still livid. He was huffing and puffing like a bull, seeing red next to me in my office. If it wasn't for Kate, who called and calmed him down, he would have easily shifted into Duke, and then Sam wouldn't have gotten off this easily. Ray was just as angry and disappointed, and he said that even Luca was disgusted by what had happened. "I wasn't thinking," Sam admitted, "but it is not what you think, I promise." Gray stormed forward, ready to pounce on our brother again. He had lifted his fist in the air, ready to strike him. "Sit down," I ordered. "Why should I?" Gray argued. "He hurt our mate." "Because I need to hear his side of the story," I said calmly, and I gestured for Gray to sit down. "Colt, I am telling you, I did not know Kate was outside in the gardens," Sam defended. "I was under the impression she was with Gray. I didn't know she would wander down to the pond and hear and see us." "You knew Colt requested a meeting with Mom and Dad," Gray snapped. "Which I didn't attend for a reason," Sam yelled. And I thought that maybe you would attend to Kate while Colt was at the meeting. So that you could smooch with Amy behind Kate's back? Gray growled. Is that what you think happened? Sam asked. I didn't smooch anyone. You did kiss Amy, didn't you? Gray spat. Yeah, but not in the way you think I did, Sam defended himself and sighed. Well, I am telling you, Kate saw it, Gray said angrily. You broke her heart. How the hell do you expect us to look into her eyes, knowing that our brother betrayed her? I didn't betray Kate, Sam snapped, getting to his feet. I told Amy she shouldn't have come back. I don't love her. I am in love with Kate and only Kate. I don't want her. And you think for 1 minute we should believe you? Gray said. Yeah, why not? He asked. Because you have run off after every she-wolf you could get your hands on in the past and fucked them, Gray hissed. Well, that is in the past. This is the present, Sam yelled back. And I ain't living in the past like you do. I have changed. Yeah, right, Gray said. You haven't been home for a minute, and you had an old fling in your arms, and to make things worse, you kissed her in front of Kate. That is not what happened, Sam lashed out. I didn't kiss her back. I remember Sam stiffening when Amy grabbed him. He tried to get her off, but she was worse than a leech sucking his lungs out. I needed to talk to Amy and explain things. I needed to tell her that I didn't need her anymore. I had to tell her to never do that again. I didn't belong to her. I needed her to understand that I was ready to settle down and mark Kate. I told her I would not allow her to disrespect my mate again. Something worried me about Sam's statement. Why did he need her in the first place? Did he act out because of Amy? Did he go with us, hoping to find her again? You went with us to look for Amy, didn't you? I asked, stopping Gray. That is why you acted out and slept with every she-wolf you could get your hands on? You did that all because of some she-wolf? Sam sighed and sat back down. He had his hands in his hair. I struggled with Amy just leaving, he said. I felt alone and depressed, and it was difficult. I needed some distraction to feel good. I couldn't tell any of you two because you accepted and moved on when Amy left. Sam shook his head, ashamed. Why did you say something? Gray asked, surprised. We are your brothers. It wasn't so easy, Sam said. And I was embarrassed. Colt was busy with alpha training and you were busy with beta training. I didn't want to distract you. It wasn't fair of me to break your focus to feel sorry for me. Okay, I said, so how do you feel now? Better, he said. After we found Kate, I noticed that I was healing. It was as if a veil was lifted. I guess sleeping around made my body feel better, but it was fucking with my mind. I should never have gotten attached to Amy in the first place, or touched another she-wolf who wasn't my mate. We all shouldn't have, I said. Yeah, Sam said, nodding his head. The so-called kiss you saw was supposed to be on Amy's forehead as a goodbye kiss. She lifted her head and pressed her lips to mine. That's interesting, Gray said, lifting an eyebrow. I found that interesting as well, and my mind wandered off earlier with the meeting with my parents. Mother, you saw yourself that Kate is busy healing, I said. I will not let a chance pass to see her heal and have a proper family. And what will you do if she never heals? My mother asked. How will she be able to be Luna? How will she be able to lead the pack in your absence from a wheelchair? No one will take her seriously. Have you thought about pups? How will she be able to raise your pups if she can't even move up the stairs running after them? I chuckled amusedly at my mother, and her gaze moved toward me, looking kind of startled about my behavior. We have all discussed it already. We would work around the issues, but Kate was staying, and nothing was going to change our minds. It doesn't matter if you, or Dad, or anyone doesn't believe in Kate, Gray said. It is all about how much we, her mates, believe and love her. I know she will walk one day. Colt had a vision, confirming that. Hell, you saw her standing and walking toward you, Mom. Kate just needs time, and I am willing to give her all the time in the world if she needs it. But mark my words, I will destroy anyone who interferes in our relationship again, including you. Gray, you don't know what you're getting yourself into? My mother argued. Kate is just going to be a liability, a burden on you and your brother's shoulders. Will she? He snapped. You can say all this about Kate without even taking the time to learn to know her. How can you judge her by only seeing her sitting in a wheelchair? Our mother turned red in her face. She wasn't used to us fighting back. So that you know, Gray said, that girl you believe is a burden to all of us is the strongest person I know. She has gone through more trials than any of you. You are making a mistake, my mother yelled. No, I said. Amy needs to leave and I want her gone by tonight. I can't do it, my mother said proudly. She has decided to migrate back permanently. Under whose authority? Gray asked. Mine, sons, my father said, his gaze moving between Gray and me. He looked very guilty and sorry. I signed the transfer papers off yesterday morning. I didn't know it would create issues. Colt? Gray called, forcing the memory from my mind and bringing me back to my present. What are you thinking? I stared at nothing for a moment before I leaned forward and looked up at my two brothers. As much as I love our dearest mother, I said, I have had enough of her interference. She had planned this to the finest detail, and she was going to try and force Kate out. She brought Amy here to do everything in her power to have us change our minds, even if it meant hurting Kate. So, what's your plan, man? Sam asked. We are moving the Alpha ceremony and taking our power back. Catherine POV. I felt miserable, and for once I couldn't stop crying. I was crying about stupid little things. From my broken friendship with Sarah to Sam hurting me. I even cried about Gray giving Sam an ass-whooping. I knew Sam's would heal, and he most probably deserved it, but my emotions were all over the place and out of control. I trusted Sam. I loved Sam. And now he has made me an emotional wreck. I sighed and I wiped the tears from my face. I stared for a moment at nothing, trying to get my breathing under control. I wasn't even such a mess after Brian rejected me. Maybe I should have just stayed home. At least I would have my family around me, and maybe I could try to mend and strengthen some of my old relationships. A sad smile followed on my lips, thinking of the rogue back home. I was surprised to find him so early when I took Ellie to play and explore outside. She was a typical wolf pup, always up before sunrise. The rogue had just come from the training grounds, and he had a couple of girls walking with him. He smiled when he saw me and said something to the girls before he came jogging toward me. Hi, Alpha's daughter, he said. His sparkling blue eyes looked happy, and his posture was relaxed. It seemed like he fit in quite well. Morning, Rogue, I said. You are up early. Yes. Well, there is nothing as beautiful as a morning jog, he said, laughing. I watch the sunrise every morning. It reminds me of how lucky I am to still be alive. That's interesting, I said, surprised at how deep he was. Are you fitting in well? Yeah, he said. I made some friends here and there. Most pack members stay clear of me, but Sarah took me under her wing and showed me around. That surprised me. Sarah? I asked, feeling a bit jealous. She has been keeping to herself, mostly. Not that I went out of my way to talk to her. After our last interaction, I was a bit scared to get too close to her. I guess I was still a bit raw about her having Brian's pup. Well, I'm not sure if there is any other Sarah around, he said, laughing. Wait, there she is, Sarah! The rogue waved to Sarah, and she hurried closer. I wasn't particularly in the mood to talk to her, but I kept my composure, trying to act as friendly as I could. Hi, girl, Sarah greeted. Hi, Sarah, I said. Wow, I hear you have taken the rogue under your wing. I have, she said, looking at the rogue all proud. Your mother asked me to show Christopher around. Christopher? I asked. Is that your name? Well, the rogue said, I think that is my name. I am not 100% sure. That was the first name that popped into my head, and it kind of stuck. It suits you, I said, laughing. Gray suddenly appeared at the patio door and walked closer, and Christopher took a step back, looking kind of nervous. Was he afraid of rank wolves? Morning, gorgeous, Gray said, kissing the top of my head. Did you sleep well? Yes, thank you, I said, eyeing Gray. His hair was still wet from showering, and he didn't have a shirt on. I licked my lips, appreciating the view. Sarah cleared her throat, and my gaze snapped back toward her. Sorry, I apologize. This is Beta Gray Black from White River Pack. He is one of my mates. Mates? Sarah gasped. So the rumors are true, you have more than one? Yes, I said, nodding. I hadn't formally announced to the pack that I had accepted the triplets as my mates, and I guess it was time. Everyone would eventually find out. Ellie looked at me and wiggled in my arms. She was quiet most of the time, just sitting in my lap and listening to us attentively. I guess she had enough of us talking. She wanted to play. I moved Ellie to sit on the handrest, holding her, and one by one, I lifted my legs and set them down on the grass, creating a slide with my legs for Ellie to go down. I shifted her back to her lap and carefully slid her down to the grass. She squealed and ran off. "Well, we had better be going," Sarah said, steering Christopher away from us. "We are on kitchen duty." "Thanks for dropping by," I said as the two left. "So," Gray said, squatting down, "have you packed all your belongings?" "No," I said, "just the necessary things." "I guess we can make a trip and pick up the rest of your things at a later stage," he said. "Gray," I said, finding his gaze and tapping his nose. "Slow and steady, that is what we agreed on." "Do you have cold feet?" he asked, sounding kind of sad. "No," I said. "I am happy being your mate." "Only mine?" he asked, and a grin followed on his lips. "No, silly," I said. "You know what I mean." I playfully slapped Gray's shoulder, and he jumped out of the way. "Unfair," I gasped, trying to get to him. "You will need to be quicker than that to catch this sexy beast," he said, taking a few steps back. "Beta Gray," I said seriously. "One of these days I will surely be quicker than you, that I promise." I lifted an eyebrow, and a cheeky smile followed on my lips. "But in the meantime, you are always welcome to make my wheelchair faster." Gray looked at me amused and laid back, crossing his arms around his chest. He slowly nodded his head, as if he were thinking about how he could make the wheelchair faster. "I think I can do something about that," he finally said, laughing. I sighed heartbrokenly. The tears had finally stopped, but my heart was still sore. I haven't been this happy for so long, and now some random girl is about to take it from me. The question that had been constantly popping into my head was, did I want to fight for Sam, or was it for the best that he took someone else? I can't be selfish. I was a broken wolf. A knock on the door startled me, and I turned the wheelchair around, looking toward the door. "It's open," I called, wiping the remaining tears from my eyes. Hopefully no one will notice that I have been crying. The door clicked open, and Colt peeked his head in, looking around the room until he found me. "Hi," he said, smiling, yet the smile didn't reach his eyes, and he looked kind of worried. "Hi," I said quietly. Seeing Colt reminded me of Sam, and I had to swallow hard not to release the next round of tears. "Can we talk?" he asked, and I nodded, unable to utter another word. This was going to be a one-sided conversation. Colt took a seat on the bed, folded his huge arms around his chest, and dropped his gaze to the floor. He sure looked worried and nervous. "Colt," I eventually dared to say something. "Did you come to tell me that Sam has decided to reject me?" What he told me next took the wind right under my wings. Colt's POV. "Wait, what?" I gasped, surprised. "No. Why the hell would she think that? Did I look so nervous that it gave her the idea that Sam wanted out?" Kate looked at me, her bottom lip quivering. She looked like she was about to have a nervous breakdown. "Go to her," Ray said. He was feeling sorry and sad for our mate. "Tell her the truth. Make her understand that this whole thing is just a misunderstanding." I slowly got to my feet and went to Kate, squatting in front of her and taking her hands. I wasn't sure what to say or how. I was never good with feelings and words, but this was my mate, and I needed to comfort her. "Baby," I said, trying to keep my voice level. I was still pissed at my mother, and I was scared I would say the wrong thing. "The reason why I am here is to tell you two things." I raised my gaze, searching for Kate's. She was looking at the ceiling, blinking, and fighting the tears back. I couldn't handle the fact that my mate was so sad and heartbroken, and that was all because of my mother. I internally growled. "Kate, look at me, please," I said, feeling my heart hurt in my chest. I didn't like seeing Kate like this. Kate slowly dropped her gaze, staring down at me. Her eyes were full of crystal-clear tears. "I need to tell you something," I said. "Do you understand?" Kate nodded, trying hard not to blink. "Okay," I said and sighed. "The first thing is, Sam wants to come see and talk to you." Kate moved her face away, and tears escaped her eyes and rolled down her already flustered cheeks. Her body started to shake, and a sob escaped her lips. "Kate, he wants to come explain things to you." I tried to comfort her. "He feels really bad about what happened. It is all a misunderstanding." Kate moved her gaze toward me, looking at me in disbelief. "He is really sorry. Even Gray apologized to Sam." Kate narrowed her eyes in response. "I know what I saw," she stuttered between sobs. "I know. I said, getting to my feet and taking a step back. I saw it too, but it is not what Sam planned. He loves her, she sobbed. I can't compete with that. She is a fully functional she-wolf. That's where you are wrong, I said. Sam is many things, but he loves you and only you. He wants to be with you. We all do. I promise. I could see Kate was processing my words, yet she didn't believe them. I couldn't blame her. If that happened to me, I would have felt the same, betrayed. But at least there was a bit of hope. She was willing to listen to me. Sam just needed to come and explain everything to her. What's the second thing? Kate asked between sobs. We have decided to have the alpha ceremony in 2 weeks, I said. I'm happy for you, she whispered, swallowing down her sobs. We want to introduce you to the pack as our mate and Luna the same night, I said, pinning Kate's gaze. No, Kate said, a cold chill ran down my spine. No, I can't. You deserve better. I can't be your Luna. You are the best, I said, and we want you to be our Luna. My chest suddenly felt thick, like it had become difficult to breathe. We don't want anyone else. Colt, she said, her voice breaking. Look at me. But I am, I said. Why did this suddenly feel like a bloody rejection? Gray must have come and explained things. He is better than me at these kinds of things. Did you hear what she said about me? Kate asked. She called me that disabled thing. You see, your pack will never accept me, and as hard as I try to be good enough, I think I know when I need to call it quits. I am not going to accept your rejection, I said, getting to my feet. It's better for the both of us, she whispered tiredly. No, I growled. It is not. I love you, and I have never felt like this about anyone else before. The same goes for my brothers. You love me? Kate stuttered. Yes, I said. Don't you understand? You are everything we want. So please, baby, don't make me beg. I'm an alpha for God's sake. That made Kate laugh and cry again at the same time. Damn, I was bad at this kind of thing. When Kate eventually stopped crying, she looked embarrassed. Come one, I said. Let's get you into the tub. It will make you feel better. Kate nodded, and I headed to the bathroom, opening the taps. Which flavor bubble bath would you prefer? I asked, hearing her coming closer. The ocean breeze, please, she said. Excellent choice, I said, trying to lift the mood. Would you like to have a glass of wine with that? Gosh, I sounded like Sam. Kate smiled, shaking her head. That will do, she said. If I started drinking now, you might take advantage of me, Alpha. I shivered at the way she said my title, awakening something different, something dominant and something dark inside me. My cock twitched, indicating where this was about to go, and my body stiffened, knowing it wasn't the time. At that second, I knew that if I turned around now, I would lift her out of that chair and fuck her. Maybe that is what she needs, Ray yapped, focusing on different kinds of kinky sex positions in my mind. I shook my head, trying to get rid of the images, cursing Ray for making it so difficult. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, closed the taps, and turned around. I was surprised to know that Kate had pushed her chair right behind me, and her eyes held the same hunger as mine. Was Kate about to go rogue on my body? Catherine POV. The soft knocking and sad whimpering shook me awake, and my eyes flew open. I pulled my body into a sitting position. For a moment, I was unsure where I was, but that was until I heard the soft snoring coming from next to me. A small smile followed on my lips. Colt stayed with me all night, and he was still peacefully sleeping next to me. I sighed. It was an emotional roller coaster the last couple of hours, and I wished to never feel that heartbroken again. My gaze moved toward the door. I was sure I heard someone knocking. Did I dream it? Did I imagine the knocking? I laid back, looking at the time. It was just after 2 a.m. I guess I must have been dreaming. When the second round of knocking on the door came, I was sure that I wasn't dreaming. Who would be so bold as to wake anyone up at this time? Fear sprouted through me as the only thing I could think of was that the pack must be under attack. Colt, I called. Colt. Wake up. There is someone at the door. Colt? What? He asked sleepily. There is someone at the door. I whispered, shouted at him. You need to find out who it is. Colt, I said, shaking him. I knew he was already awake. Colt wasn't a deep sleeper, not like Sam and Gray. Okay, I'm up, he said, moving the blankets away from him and getting to his feet. He stretched his body and yawned before strolling off towards the door. I couldn't help but appreciate his body. Mine was wrapped around his torso a couple of years ago. Bits and pieces of the scene flashed before my eyes, soaking my underwear again. My core and my breath hitch, recalling the scene where I unbuckled and unzipped Colt's pants in the bathroom. I slowly dropped his pants on the floor, leaving him in his underwear. His cock had already hardened, and a huge, juicy bulge waited for me inside. My fingers moved over his underwear, feeling the dampness where his pre-cum had leaked out. Colt watched me curiously. I wanted to see all of Colt, and I grabbed his shirt and unbuttoned it from the bottom up, leaving a trail of hot, wet kisses where I could reach. Damn, his body was rock hard. My hands traveled over his beautifully crafted abs up to his chest, teasing them. My fingers grabbed hold of Colt's boxer waistband, and he gasped as I teasfully moved my fingers between the waistband and his body. I peeked up at Colt. His eyes were dark and full of lust. I cheekily smiled at him, dropping his boxers and grabbing hold of his member, pushing him into my mouth. Colt hissed out of pleasure, throwing his head back and moaning. I pumped and sucked on his huge cock, tasting the salty, warm pre-cum. He must be close. I wanted to push him over the edge. I pressed harder and more urgently. I wanted to hear and see him find his release. "Oh, baby," Colt moaned. "That feels so fucking good." It was our first time alone, and I wanted to make it memorable and end this day with something good. Even if it meant Colt needed to ride the sadness right out of me. Colt suddenly looked down and smiled, touching the side of my face tenderly. "I want my release inside you," he said. Colt carefully pushed the wheelchair backward, turned the chair around, and lowered himself. He pulled my shirt over my head and admired my bra for a second. "If you wear things like that around me, they're not going to last long," he warned. "I love lace." That sent a shiver down to my core, and my pussy clinched, soaking my panties. Colt lifted me off the chair, carried me bridal style to the bed, and set me down. I admired how his huge, rough hands could work so tenderly. Before I knew it, he had me out of my pants and only in my black lace underwear. "Goddess, you smell so good," he said, moving down to my pussy. "I could just eat you." Before I could stop Colt, he had shredded my panties, and they were lying in pieces on the floor. "You don't need those anymore," Colt said, his voice turning huskier. Colt didn't give me a second to argue when his finger moved through my slit and down into my entrance. I gasped at the foreign feeling, and a moan escaped my lips. Colt pulled his tongue through my slit, sucking up the juices. Then he started playing around my sweet spot and pumping me with his finger. Another moan escaped my lips when he added a second finger inside me, stretching me to take his huge cock. "You are so tight for me, baby," he said. "Are you ready?" I nodded my head, and Colt flipped me over, pulling my ass into the air. He was supporting my body with one of his hands. "I love your behinds," he said, spanking my ass and moaning out in pleasure. "We don't see your ass often." Colt pushed his rock-hard cock at my entrance and moved it up and down my slit. "Fuck! That feels good," I moaned. "Not as good as this," he said, pushing his whole shaft inside me. I moaned his name as he trusted me inside, riding me from behind. Colt pulled me up against his chest, giving him access to my nape. His trust became harder, more calculated and more dominant. He scraped my neck with his canines, breaking the skin. "Mark me," I whispered. "Make me yours." Colt lashed onto my nape, sucking and biting as he increased his speed. I was already close. I was shivering. Colt bit down hard, finding his release as he pumped his dick deeper into me, pushing me over, and him finding his release. He carefully set me down and laid down next to me. I turned to look at him. He had this huge smile on his lips. "What?" I asked. "You know that if we keep this up, you will fall pregnant," he said. "Do you want pups?" I asked, brushing my hand over his cheek. I was already hot and bothered, and I wanted to feel him between my legs again. "I do," he said. "I'm just not sure how you feel about that." "It's Sam," Colt said, breaking my chain if I thought, and my head snapped toward the door. "He wants to see you." "Why?" I asked. "He can't sleep," Colt said, rolling his eyes. "He misses you," I sighed. It wouldn't help if I tried to punish him. He had come to me and not gone to her. He still had a lot of explaining to do, but let him in, I said, and Colt opened the door for Sam to enter. I lifted the blankets, and Sam got in. He didn't touch me, which sort of pissed me off. I sighed, missing Gray. Colt, I whispered, shaking his arm. Yeah, he said, sounding a bit annoyed. I can't sleep, I said. I miss Gray. Colt sighed, got out of bed, and disappeared out the door. A few minutes later, he returned with sleepy Gray by his side. Sam moved down and curled himself at my legs, and Gray pulled me to his chest. Thanks, I whispered to Colt. You're welcome, he said, and his breathing deepened. I laid back and closed my eyes, feeling happy. This feels more like home, I mumbled, sleepy. If only I knew that that feeling wasn't going to last that long, and that things were about to go downhill with the women in the triplets' lives. Colt's POV. Give up, Colt, Gray growled as he pinned me down on the training mat. Never, I hissed, throwing him off. Gray got to his feet, smirking. I almost had you there, he said, readying himself to go at me again. Almost is not a win, I taunted. You will need to do better than that. This cat-and-mouse game had gone on for about an hour. Just as Gray thought he had me down, Ray gave me the extra strength to throw Gray off and go at him again. I could have pinned Gray down long ago, but I was enjoying the exercise, and making him believe he could win was just adding to the fun. Colt, Sam called as he walked into the training area. Have you seen Kate? No, I said, turning my attention to Sam. Why? She isn't in her room, he said. Gray seized the opportunity and pounced on me, bringing me down hard. Bloody hell, I growled, annoyed, and Sam sneakered, amused. I guess I won this round, Gray said proudly, getting up. Never let your guard down. Yeah, I said, and Gray held his hand out to me to take. A sly smile followed on my lips as I brought Gray down and pinned him to the mat. And never get cocky, I said, laughing. Gray huffed, annoyed, as we got to our feet. I headed to the bench, grabbed a towel, and threw one to Gray. Did you look in the gardens? I asked Sam, wiping my face and hair. Yeah, she isn't there, he said. Her room is clean, her bed is made, and nothing looks out of place. Then she's around here somewhere, I said. Kate wouldn't just pick up and leave, not after last night. My cock hardened just thinking of how I rolled her up and fucked her on the floor, on the dressing table, and in the shower. She was a goddess in bed, and I couldn't get enough of her. Maybe she just went for a stroll, Gray said. Stroll? Sam huffed, crossing his arms. I don't believe that. Why are you so desperately looking for her? Gray asked. We haven't talked, he said, looking embarrassed. I just need to clear the air and make sure she forgives me. I think she already did, I said, but it might help strengthen the bond if you play open cards with her. Yeah, maybe get her some roses, Gray said. Show her how sorry you really are. Someone is getting romantic, I teased. When did you become such an expert on the dating subject? Sam asked. Well, let's just say that after you two gave me a hard time, I started doing some research, Gray said proudly. Wasn't that movie? I flicked my fingers at Sam. Never been kissed, Sam said. Yeah, that one, I said. Didn't it give you enough pointers? Seriously, guys, Gray said, rolling his eyes. I am now a mated wolf. I needed much more than those pointers and tips. Exactly what tips are you referring to? Sam asked. How to be a sensitive mate to your mate. Gray said, what every she-wolf wants. Please don't tell me you got pointers from some magazine, Sam asked. Maybe I did, Gray said, looking kind of startled. I couldn't help but burst out and laugh, and I winked at Sam. Gray was still so innocent and gullible in the mating and loving game that he would believe anything and everything we told him. Gray, I said, shaking my head, you know those pointers are directly directed to humans and not she-wolves? Gray narrowed his eyes at me. What's the difference? He asked, confused. A lot, Sam said. For starters, humans do not shift into wolves. That I know, Gray said. Secondly, I said, our wolves usually help our humans forgive us. It is much easier. Gray nodded. Yet, Sam said, if her wolf is pissed at you, you better run. She might claw you, I said, nodding my head and looking at Gray all seriously. Or even bite you, Sam added. So how do I? Gray swallowed hard, looking between the two of us. Safe the situation? Sam asked, amused. Sam turned his gaze toward me and winked. You buy her red roses, obviously, Sam said. Don't forget the box of chocolate, I added. That tells her you are really, really sorry. Gray growled under his breath. But that's exactly what I just suggested Sam do. Yeah, we know, I said, grabbing hold of him and rubbing my knuckles over his head. You two are assholes, Gray said, pushing me off. We know you love us for that, Sam said. Well, let's go find Kate. Wherever she is, she can't be too far, I said, looking at the time. It was still early and most pack members had to be down at training. We split up, going in different directions to search for our mate. I was the lucky one who found Kate in the least expected place, the kitchen. It was already under the smoke, and Kate was bravely trying to wave the smoke away from her. "Morning," I said, amused, and Kate jumped in her seat out of fright. "Colt," she yelled out and grabbed hold of her chest. "What are you doing?" I asked, surprised looking at the mess on the kitchen counter. There was flour all over the place, and Kate had a thin layer of flour dusted over her face. "Making pancakes," she said with a tight smile. I raised an eyebrow at her. "It looks like burning pancakes to me," I said. "Why are you attempting something if you know you are horrible at it?" Kate sighed, and her shoulders dropped, looking at her mess. "Well," she said, coming around the counter and pulling me down to her level for a kiss. "I never properly thanked you for finding Ellie." "Oh." That caught me a bit off guard. "So you decided to burn down the pack house instead?" Catherine POV. I felt horrible watching my mates clean up my mess. They had moved me and my chair out of the way and started cleaning up. "You are not to lift a finger in this pack house again," Sam said, rubbing the counter clean. "Or try to use the kitchen or any other foreign equipment in here," Gray said, looking at me. "I think it is safe to say you are the worst cook around," Colt said, smiling. I sighed, frustrated. "I need to do something," I said. I am not willing to sit around the whole day." "What did you do before meeting us?" Gray asked. "I was mostly in the gym working out," I said. "And before that?" Sam asked. "Visiting doctors," I said, pouting. "And before that?" Colt asked. "I trained warriors," I said, feeling a pinch in my chest. "Before my shifting accident, I trained a lot in my human form, and I was really, really good. My father let me help Beta Harold train our warriors. It was fun, and I made a name for myself. I miss those days. They were really fun." I laid my head on my arm, replaying those days in my mind. I could seriously kick ass then. "Why don't you start doing that again?" Colt asked, and I lifted my gaze to look at him. "How?" I asked. "I am bound in a wheelchair." "That doesn't matter," Gray said. "We will help." "Maybe you could check out everyone's skills and tell us how to better ourselves," Sam said. "Like a coach or something," Gray said. Colt walked closer and squatted in front of me. "How does that sound?" he asked. "Would you enjoy doing something like that?" I didn't give it a second thought and nodded my head. "Yeah, that sounds great," I said. Colt got to his feet. "In the meantime," he said, "your daily gym is not suspended." I rolled my eyes at him. "You will go to the gym daily and train," he said. "One of us will join you to assist with the equipment." "Colt has ordered the extra equipment you need to strengthen your legs," Gray said. "It is coming early next week." "You didn't need to do that," I said. "You are our mate and the future of this pack," Colt said, smiling. "Besides that," Sam chirped, "now that we all know you can stand and walk, we want to push you to gain that ability." I sighed. "You guys do know that it might have been a one-moment fluke?" I said. The triplets were taking on unnecessary expenses with no guarantee that I would ever walk again. I could barely move my toes today. "I doubt that," Colt said. "I saw you standing next to me on stage." That reminded me of what I saw, images of myself running through an open clearing, laughing, with the triples chasing after me. Yet that hasn't happened. I nodded. "Fine," I said. "I will do as you request." "Then it's settled," Gray said. "Now let's get breakfast." Sam pushed me to my room and helped me clean up. We talked and made up. "I am sorry, Kate," he said. "Will you please forgive me? I promise I will do everything in my power to stay away from Amy. I will do anything you ask. Just forgive me." I already had a feeling that this girl was out to make my life miserable. I wasn't sure how far she would go in doing that, and I had a feeling that the triplets were withholding crucial information from me and that they were too scared to share. "Is she the reason why you decided to move the Alpha ceremony?" I asked. Sam nodded. "Why?" I asked. "Because we want to mark and introduce you as our Luna," Sam said. I raised an eyebrow at him, and he sighed. Sam couldn't hide anything from me anymore. "Amy can be a bit too much," he said. "In what way?" I asked. "She is a bit possessive," he said, searching my gaze. "In what way?" I asked, shifting my head to the side. "She can get a bit nasty," he said. Whenever she tries something, just tell me. I will tell Gray to sort her out." "Why Gray?" I asked, narrowing my eyes. I didn't want her near any of my mates. Sam said, hesitating, and he became silent. Was he linking his brothers? "Sam?" I said, getting impatient. "She is the girl we all shared," Sam said. "Like all three of you?" I asked. "Yeah." Colt and I slept with her," Sam said nervously. "Gray just held her hand. He has the most restraint among all three of us." I rolled my eyes at Sam. "That explains a lot," I said. Sam came to sit next to me, his face pleading. "I am sorry I didn't wait for you," he said. "I feel really bad about that." "It's in the past," I said, giving him a reassuring smile. My stomach grumbled, and Sam burst out laughing. "Let's get you to breakfast before that hungry wolf gets released and takes me as food," Sam said, getting to his feet. Sam pushed me down to the dining hall, and we found Gray and Colt already waiting for us. Gray lifted his hand, and Sam pushed the wheelchair to the table. The only reason we decided to eat here was to have the pack get used to me. One of the Omegas came and moved the extra chair away. "I'm starving," Gray said, checking the queue. "Me too," Sam said. "How are we going to ditch the queue?" Gray asked. "Let's go get Marielle in the kitchen," Sam suggested. "She can dish up for us." Colt turned to me, taking my hand. "Mind if we leave you for a minute?" he asked. "We just need to go organize our food and coffee." "No, go ahead," I said, and the boys rushed off toward the kitchen connected to the dining room. Colt told me there were 2 kitchens in the pack house. His mother usually uses the one inside the pack house, the one I just destroyed. My gaze moved over the sea of people inside the dining area, scanning and taking in all the different faces. "Look, girls!" Amy's high-pitched voice filled the air, and the dining room fell quiet. "There sits the misfit who believes she will become Luna." Catherine POV. I had to give it to the girl. She had the guts to call me out in a dining room full of pack members and with the triplets close by. I pulled my wheelchair back to have a better look at her. Amy got closer, and a group of 5 other girls followed her. I guess they were her friends or something. Amy crossed her arms around her chest, pushing her breasts up in the process and forming a perfect cleavage. Was she trying to show me who had the biggest assets among the 2 of us? Well, it wasn't working. I was a woman, for goddess' sake. Shot like that didn't intimidate me. Amy's gaze moved over me, and I did the same. I looked her up and down, not caring who saw me. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and full pink lips. She had the looks but wasn't exceptionally beautiful. I had seen much prettier girls than her. At the end of my assessment, I concluded that she didn't have the heart to go with that pretty face of hers. "She's just boobs and no brains," Kia huffed, annoyed. I could just imagine her rolling her golden eyes at Amy. Kia has been quiet the last couple of days, as if she were waiting for someone or something to happen. Her presence was more noticeable, which I took as a good sign, but she was still shy about getting closer and showing me what she looked like. I wonder what was keeping her. I just wished she would allow me to shift. Then again, what would be the purpose of that if we couldn't walk and run? I sighed. "Seems so," I agreed, and sneaked behind my hand. Kia still had a sharp tongue on her, and she made me laugh at the most embarrassing moments. Amy growled at seeing me laugh and flicked her long, wavy blonde hair over her shoulder. Her blue orbs were pinned on me in disgust. "Have you noticed her aura?" Kia said, giggling. "No," I said. The idea didn't cross my mind. I openly lifted my nose to the air and took a whiff of Amy's scent. "She's an Omega!" I gasped, surprised. Where does her self-confidence come from? Usually, ranked she-wolves would dare something like this. "Yep," Kia giggled. "She is no match for us." "Did you forget we were stuck in a wheelchair?" I asked. "Even if she is an Omega, we are no match for her." "Girl, that is the only reason why she would attempt to do this," Kia said. "If only she knew I was." "What's so funny?" Amy snapped, cutting Kia's thoughts short, and my attention snapped back to her. "Nothing," I said to Amy, and an uncontrollable giggle escaped my lips. "What the fuck, Kia?" I growled as I watched Amy's face darken. "Was that necessary?" "Come on," Kia said. "She is really funny, annoying, and stupid. Laugh a bit." "Yeah, but still," I said, "you are going to create issues, and I will be the one who will get the end of the stick." "Are you scared of her?" Kia asked. "No," I said. "I just don't want to provoke her." "And why not?" Kia asked. "She is provoking us." Because I know that I am a better person than she is, I said to Kia. Yeah, Kia said. But trouble is already coming. I can smell it. She has her knife in for you, and she will do anything in her power to get rid of you to have the triplets. I will handle it, I said, growling. My way. Don't make it worse. You are no fun, Kia sulked. Being in a wheelchair isn't fun, I growled. Maybe you should trust our mates more, she hit back. What is that supposed to mean? I asked. Figure it out, she said. Kia left me hanging with her last thoughts. I remember she never responded to Amy kissing Sam on both occasions. Did she trust the triplet brothers fully? Was it me who lacked trust in them as my mates? Could anyone blame me for feeling that way? I have been rejected twice already. Dare to argue? Amy asked, and my attention snapped back to her. Argue about exactly? I asked, keeping my tone level. I can't remember what she said, as it wasn't important. You being a misfit, one of Amy's cliques yelled out to me. I was starting to get annoyed about the misuse of the word misfit. Misfit, I said, smiling at the girl. I am many things but a misfit. That I am not. You are stuck in that wheelchair and can't do much for yourself, another girl said. I bet you she can't even shift, another girl said. Probably the goddess didn't bless her with a wolf at all. She must be cursed, another girl said. I'm not cursed, I said. I have been in an accident. That's why I am in a wheelchair. Yep, that confirms it, Amy said, looking back at her clique. She's cursed. That is why the goddess took her legs from her. I took a deep breath and bit down on my jaw hard, trying not to react to her insults, but I was already boiling. We had better leave before some of that curse rubs off on us, a girl with brown hair said, looking back to where the triplets had just exited the kitchen. A sly smile followed on Amy's lips, and the moment she passed me, a tray of half-eaten food was dumped over me. Seriously, I growled, annoyed, as Amy and her clique stalked off, giggling. Sorry, a girl around my age said, grabbing napkins from the table to try and clean up the mess. Are you okay? I asked, seeing her shiver in fear. Aye, the girl stuttered as her dark brown eyes met mine. What the hell happened here? Gray growled, seeing me remove scrambled eggs from my clothes. Did you do this? Sam grumbled, and his face twisted in anger. Aye, the girl stuttered helplessly. Was she afraid of them? It was an accident, I said, trying to help the girl to her feet. She didn't do it on purpose. It doesn't look that way, Colt said coldly, releasing his aura around him. The pack members around us whimpered in fear, dropping their heads in fear. The triplets' next actions would haunt me for weeks to come. Catherine POV. 10 lashes with the whip, Gray announced. Wait, what? I gasped, looking at him in disbelief. For what reason? She humiliated you in front of the pack, Sam said, staring down at the girl in anger. We will not let our future Luna be harmed or humiliated like she just did, Colt said, and the girl whimpered in fear. This wasn't right. She didn't do it on purpose. My gaze turned toward where Amy and her clique stood. Amy had a huge smile plastered on her face, lifting a taunting eyebrow at me. Was she testing me? Did she trip this girl to spill the uneaten food on me? Take her outside to the square, Gray ordered, and 2 huge warriors stepped forward, ready to obey his order. And tie her up, Sam added. Don't let her escape. Colt nodded, his aura still powerful and blindingly strong. Colt, wait, I yelled, seeing the warriors grab and lift the girl from the floor. Let her go. Colt ignored my request and turned to his brothers. Gray, take Kate to get her cleaned up, he said, and meet us there. Gray came closer, and I growled at him. He ignored my warning growl and went around, pushing the wheelchair back. I tried to stop him, but he lifted my hands from the wheels of my wheelchair and set them on my lap. Little mate, he whispered in my ear. Don't be difficult. You don't want to make this worse. I shivered at Gray's warning and kept my hands in my lap. I will find another way to stop this. Gray pushed my wheelchair out of the dining room and back to my room. Gray, I said as we entered my room, please don't do this. It isn't her fault. I tried to reason. Gray ignored me, pushed the chair into the sitting area, and disappeared into my closet. I could hear him moving inside the closet. I don't have many of my belongings here, so the pick should be easy. He eventually walked out of the closet with a white floral-printed summer dress. Gray, please. I begged again. Gray lifted his gaze and I gasped, surprised. Why didn't I see it before? His eyes were as dark as night. His wolf must have taken over, but why? "Duke," I called, holding out my hand. I was hoping he would react to my touch. "Yes?" He answered stiffly, refusing to let me touch him. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Why have you taken control of Gray?" "I was ordered," he said. "Order by who?" I asked. He looked down at me and smiled. "You." I shivered at the single word. "I never gave such an order," I said, taking his hand in mine. "Please stop and release the girl." "I can't," he said, removing my hand from his. "What is done is done. The decision has been made." Another cold chill ran down my spine, and I shook the feeling off. "No," I said. "I will not let you harm her for something so little that wasn't her fault." Duke ignored my statement and helped me get cleaned up. "You look pretty in that dress," he said, purring when we were done. I sighed, rolling my eyes at him. I wished he would just listen. Gray silently pushed my wheelchair down the long hallway and through the pack house until we reached the huge double door. My gaze moved over the beautiful carvings of wolves on the doors. The 2 guards situated at the door spotted us and opened the doors, revealing the square. Hundreds of pack members were already standing around, waiting to see what would happen. My throat tightened as Gray pushed the wheelchair into the square, and my gaze landed on the girl tied up in the center. She was on her knees, weeping silently. My heart broke with every tear that left her dark eyes, rolling down her cheeks and dripping on the cold floor. This wasn't right. This wasn't fair. I can't let her get hurt. It didn't take Gray long to spot Colt and Sam, and he pushed the wheelchair toward them. "Colt," I called again. "Stop this. Stop this now. It is ridiculous to punish her like that for something so stupid." Colt looked at me, yet said no word. He turned his gaze back to the girl. "Please, Colt," I begged, grabbing his hand. "Please listen to me and let her go." "I can't," he said, gesturing for his brothers to follow him. They walked off towards the center, leaving me there to witness. "Some Luna, you are," Amy giggled next to me, and my gaze snapped toward her. She had a huge grin on her face, and she seemed excited to see how this girl was about to get punished. "You can't even stop your so-called mates from punishing someone innocent." "You bumped into that girl, didn't you?" I asked, narrowing my eyes at her. "The runt?" She scoffed and looked toward the girl. "She is a nobody. She deserves what is coming to her." Gray had taken the microphone and was informing the rest of the pack about what had happened. "Enjoy the show," Amy said, laughing, and left my side. A warrior handed Colt a whip, and the silver blades at the end of the whip flickered in the sun. "I can't let him do that. I will not allow that. Even if I had to take the beating myself, I would not let Colt hurt innocent pack members, even if he was under some order." Colt lifted his hand, and I pushed my wheelchair forward, trying to get to the girl as fast as I could. The sound of the whip cutting through the air echoed around us. "No-oh-oh," I yelled out, closing my eyes not to see the impact and stretching out my hands before me. Silence. I slowly opened my eyes. Everything around me was frozen in place. The whip's cracker was inches from the girl's back. What's going on? How the hell? I couldn't process what I was seeing. I pushed myself forward and waved my hand before Sam, then Gray's face. They weren't blinking. They weren't moving. They weren't breathing. Did I do this? I shook my head, pushed the wheelchair forward, and placed myself defensively between the girl and Colt. "Enough!" I roared, feeling immense power moving through my veins. The window of the pack house rattled, and the sound of the whip connected to something echoed through the silent square. Colt blinked, and his face twisted in horror, seeing me. Colt's POV. "How could you let this get out of hand?" My father roared at us in his office. "Don't you have any control over your wolves?" I felt like a schoolboy standing in the principal's office being scolded for skipping class. "My father hasn't yelled at us like this for years." "You have made a fool of us in front of the whole pack," my mother added, "and this is before your alpha ceremony." "What do you have to say for yourselves?" he growled, looking us up and down. I turned to my brothers, who silently stood next to me. They too had no idea what had happened. "It will not happen again," Gray said. "Sure it wouldn't," my father roared. "You acted like fools. What the hell had gotten into you?" "I'm telling you, it was that thing in the wheelchair that started it," my mother sneered, looking back at our father. "She must have ordered them to do so." Keep your mouth off our mate, woman, Sam growled darkly, extending his claws and taking a step forward. My mother gasped, looking frightened. Her favorite son was turning on her. I extended my arm, blocking Sam off. If he loses his temper and control here, nothing in this room will ever be the same. You are picking that disabled thing over your own mother? She gasped in shock. The one who birthed and raised you? Maybe I should just stand aside and let her favorite son make her understand that we wanted Kate and only her. When will she understand? We are not like her. We wouldn't run off and make her vulnerable to attacks. She is our mate, mother, Gray said coldly. Father would do the same if you were in danger. At least he would never let his wolf take over to hurt pack members, she hissed. She was right. Why did our wolves take over? Why did they see this girl as a threat? And how did they manage to take control without any effort? Kate said our wolves believed she gave the order, but she never spoke a word. My mind raced back to moments ago in the square. I can't remember what happened in the dining room, except for taking Kate's and my plate from the kitchen. Sam grabbed our coffee, and Gray grabbed his and Sam's plates. We were talking about taking Kate shopping. She didn't bring much, and we were hoping that she would accept the offer. I needed to get her a new set of underwear after I ruined the beautiful lace set she had on last night. The next second, a roar cleared my mind, shaking my soul. What the fuck? Sam yelled out in disbelief behind me. Kate was sitting with her hands stretched out, keeping some kind of force field between us. My eyes widened, seeing a whip's cracker inches from some girl's back, frozen in the air. Kate's expression was twisted. She looked at me as if I had lost my mind. What the fuck happened? Drop it, Kate ordered. Her tone was so full of emotion that it tore my soul apart, and I shivered. Ray howled inside my mind like he had been nipped with the whip's cracker. What the fuck was wrong with him? But before I could even ask him what was going on, my attention snapped to my hands. I was the one holding the whip. Why the fuck was I holding it? How the hell did I get here? What the fuck was I doing? Did I hurt Kate? Did I hit her? I let go of the whip as if it were silver burning my hands, and the pack gasped. My gaze moved to my brothers. They, too, had the same horrific expression as I had. I took a step back. Kate, are you okay? Sam yelled, rushing to her side. Guards! Gray yelled, gesturing to the girl being tied up. Kate pushed forward, passing Sam's side, and stopped dead before Gray. Let her go, she demanded with a fierce glare. No, there must be a reason why she is tied up, he argued. Gray, she said, that girl is innocent. Let her go, or so help me, goddess, I will claw you myself until you free her. Sam growled next to me, bringing me back to my present situation. Calm down, I linked Sam, and I dropped my arm. I turned my attention to my parents and straightened myself. This conversation was now over. We will have to investigate why our wolves could take control without our knowledge. If that is all, I said, I have a few things I need to attend to. My father nodded, and we turned to leave. Colt, he said, stopping me as I got to the door. I turned to look at him over my shoulder. Yes, father, I said, waiting for him to continue. Just a reminder that the Blue Moon Festival is this weekend, he said. We have a few visiting packs coming over to celebrate. I narrowed my eyes. It starts tomorrow night, my mother said, pointing her index finger at us. And you three need to be on your best behavior. No funny, uncontrollably wolf business. I ignored her. She was making a big fuss out of nothing. We all knew how to behave in public. The drama of today was a one-time thing. There are quite a few packs that will be coming from other areas, my father said. I'm planning to sign treaties with them as well. Why? Sam asked. He wasn't very fond of the idea of having other packs come in and out of our territory. Father is trying to get more alliances due to the increase in rogue attacks the last couple of months, Gray asked. My father nodded, admitting what Gray just said was true. My father's health had declined after the last attack. I was sure if he went into battle now, he wouldn't come back home alive. But why was I not informed about the decision? Why was he keeping this a secret until now? The more alliances we have, the better, my father said, taking a seat and moving papers on his desk. Is there something you want to privately discuss with me? I asked, looking at my mother. Maybe he wants to say something that doesn't concern my mother or brothers. His gaze snapped toward me, and he nodded. My mother sighed when my father turned his gaze toward her, and she got up and left, closing the office door behind her. I walked closer, took a seat, and waited for him to start. My father peeked over his glasses after a moment and handed me a piece of paper. "Here is a list of packs that are coming," he said. "You will welcome them when they arrive. 5 packs are not part of our community here. You need to personally welcome them. Make sure they are comfortable. We need their alliance." My gaze scanned over the pack names. Most of these alphas I had met. There was only one pack I hadn't, and it gave me a cold and uncertain feeling. The Red Moon Pack. Catherine POV. The girl I saved was so grateful that she had sworn her life to me. I tried to explain to her that everything was just a misunderstanding and she was free to go, but she refused. She wanted to be by my side. "You are my savior, and I will always be in your debt for what you have done for me," she said. "Don't worry about it," I said. "I am just thankful that I was able to stop it." The girl flinched and shivered, and I stretched out my hand to her. "That alpha colt would never deliberately hurt anyone," I said. "It was just—" The question was, what was it really? Why did the triplets' wolves react to someone who didn't want to hurt me? This was the second time they reacted like that. The first time was in my parents' pack. I couldn't understand why they ignored my request and claimed that I had given them the order. I knitted my eyebrows together, wondering what ticked them off. Something didn't add up. I wondered if Kia could tell me. I called her, but, like always, she was never around when I needed her. I sighed. "Alpha Colt isn't bad," the girl said. "I am not angry at him or his brothers. They were just protecting their mate." "I guess so," I said, nodding, turning the wheelchair around and pushing myself down the hallway. I was still starving and was hoping to get a snack in the kitchen. The triplets had gone for an urgent meeting with the current Alpha and Luna, and Daniel had gone to school, so I was left to fend for myself. Not that it bothered me. I was used to being alone and on my own. I could pretty much help myself. The girl's footsteps died out, and I assumed that she had decided to leave. "By the way, my name is Leah," she said. I stopped my wheelchair and turned to look at her. "Nice to meet you, Leah," I said, extending my hand to her. "My name is Kate." Leah hesitated before she got closer. Her posture was still that of a mouse. She looked frightened and timid, and the smallest sound would have her on edge. Was this girl scared of people? The second Leah took my hand in hers, images of silver chains flashed before my eyes, and the sound of heavy, rusty dungeon doors shutting followed. Everything around me was dark, but the continuous whispering in the darkness and a woman crying out in pain sent a cold chill down my spine. My heart suddenly started to race, and my throat closed. It felt like someone was suffocating me. I gasped for air, and I let go of Leah's hand, looking up at the girl. Who was she? Was it she who was locked up in that dark, goddess-forsaken dungeon? "Are you okay?" Leah asked, looking from under her dark chocolate hair. I haven't looked at the girl. She was mostly hiding behind her long, unwashed hair. If it weren't for her distinctive pack member scent, someone could easily mistake her for a rogue. "Yeah," I lied, and I tried to smile. "I just choked on some saliva." Something crossed Leah's eyes, yet it disappeared just as fast. "So," I said, starting to feel awkward, "why don't the pack members like you?" "Because I wasn't born in this pack," she said. "My parents jumped packs 10 years ago." That was interesting. Was that the reason why Amy gave the girl a hard time? "From which pack are you initially?" I asked. Leah lifted her head to peek at me, and her dark eyes dilated at my question. She lifted her wrist and looked at the time. "I'm sorry," she said, turning to leave. "I am late for my shift." I nodded and knitted my eyebrows together as she rushed off. There was something strange about this girl. I shook the feeling off and pushed myself down to the kitchen. I found some Omega girls cleaning the tables, and I asked to see Marielle. One of the girls pointed toward the kitchen, and I went there. My mouth watered as soon as the smell of fresh pastries hit my nose. I took a deep whiff of the smell, imagining how it would taste. I pushed the swing doors open to find a tall, gray-headed woman busy preparing something at the kitchen table. "Man, it smells heavenly in here," I said, and the she-wolf lifted her head. At first glance, it looked like the woman was about to storm me, but a soft smile followed her thin lips. I guess you are Kate Alpha Colt and his brother's mate? She asked, wiping her hands on her apron. I nodded, watching her as she came around the table. Instead of introducing herself or asking what I wanted, she walked toward a cupboard, removed a dish, and walked toward a cooling rack. She pulled out a baking tray, took 2 pastries, and placed them on the plate. Here, she said, you should be starving. My stomach growled, confirming her suspicion, and she laughed. How did you know? I asked. That you are hungry? She asked, and I nodded while taking a bite. This is a kitchen, she said. The only time wolves come in here is when they want something to eat. They are sure delicious, I said, taking another bite. Old family recipes, she said, winking. We chatted while I finished the pastries until Marielle's eyes suddenly glazed over. A second later, she was her old self, and she looked at me. Alpha Colt is looking for you, she said. Can I tell him where you are hiding? Maybe tell him I am in the dining area, I said. I enjoy our chats too much to have him know where my new hiding place is. Marielle chuckled, amused, and nodded. They are on their way, she said. I thanked her and left. Colt walked into the dining room just as I existed in the kitchen. Are you ready to leave? He asked. Leave? Leave where? Where are we going? I asked, pulling him down and kissing his cheeks. I want to take you shopping, Colt said. If only we knew that this shopping spree would end up with us revealing our darkest secrets. Catherine POV. The drive to the mall was shorter than I was used to, and Colt stopped the SUV in the parking lot. So? Sam asked. Are you ready? I lifted an eyebrow. I have never seen men get excited about taking a woman shopping. My father used to make excuses when he heard that my mother wanted to go to town. Were they coming down with a cold? I stretched my hand out, taking Sam's temperature, and he looked at me confused. What? He asked. No, nothing, I replied, unbuckling the safety belt. She is surprised that we are willingly taking her shopping, Gray said, rolling his eyes. Gray was the only one who wasn't jumping out of joy about this, but he decided to tag along. I guess he was scared that he would miss something. Come on, Colt said, bumping shoulders with Gray. It will be fun. Fun? Gray huffed. Colt turned his gaze toward Gray, and Gray's expression changed from annoyed to turning crimson. Are you serious? Gray asked, his eyes almost popping out of his head. Colt nodded and smiled cheekily. Oh, what were they discussing? If Gray turns red, it can only mean one thing. Trouble. Big trouble. My gaze snapped toward the rear mirror, seeing Colt's cold blue orbs turning darker. I know that look. He was aroused, and if they had their way, we would get down to business here in the SUV. Can you imagine 3 huge wolves sitting in the back seat? I can't. Forget it, I said sternly. You said you were taking me shopping, not getting kinky in the back seat of the car. I had first refused Colt to take me shopping. I wasn't particularly happy about them spending money on me again. They just ordered thousands of dollars worth of equipment to help me get stronger. I could still hear Colt arguing in my mind. But Princess, he said, giving me the puppy eye, we needed to get you something pretty to wear for the alpha ceremony. I knew Gray had already been in my closet going through my stuff, and I knew there was nothing in there fit for such an occasion. I have something suitable back home, I argued, but that made Colt even more persistent. The drive back to your pack would take longer than just going to town, he argued. I want to help you choose something special. Sam and Gray stood closer. They were not going to take no for an answer. I sighed and gave in. It will be quick, Sam said, breaking my chain of thoughts. No one will see us doing you, Gray added. The windows are tinted. You will enjoy it, Colt said, licking his lips. Their arousal hit my nose, awakening my insides. My mind clouded over, and it became hard to focus. Sam's strong arms surround me, and he pulls me into his lap. You smell so delicious, little mate, he whispered huskily in my ear. I sighed, knowing it was helpless to fight and argue with them. I was like putty in their hands, and I loved being molded to their will. The triplets knew I couldn't resist their touch. A small whimper escaped my lips as Sam's hands traveled down my body, leaving a trail of small sparks everywhere his fingers touched. I got lost in the sensation, closing my eyes, feeling my core clench, and soaking my underwear. Oh, Daddy, I moaned, pushing my head back against his chest. Sam chuckled, amused, as he moved my panties aside and slid his middle finger over my already warm, wet folds. Tell Daddy what you want, he whispered in my ear. Gray whimpered, and I stretched my hand out to him. Oh, Daddy, I moaned. Make me feel good. Gray had my fingers in his mouth, sucking them. Colt had climbed over to the passenger seat and claimed my lips. Sam had unzipped his pants, and his huge cock was rubbing against my sensitive part. Fuck! I moaned, already hot and bother. I was getting impatient. Just put it in. Sam lifted me, setting me down on his huge member, and a moan escaped my lips as he filled me up to the brim. You are so tight, mate, Sam moaned in my ear, giving me time to adjust to his size. Gray moved his hand to my swollen bud and started moving his finger in little circles on the sensitive area, driving me crazy. Are you ready? Sam asked. I moaned yes, and he started rocking me on his member. Colt claimed my breast and belly button, lifting a breast out of my lace bra, sucking, pinching, and nibbling it. I became a mess. I was ready to explode. The sparks were running all over my body, increasing the feeling. Moans exploded from my lips, and Sam increased his pounding the louder I moaned. Oh, goddess, I moaned. I was already close. Oh, Daddy, go faster. My body began to tremble. Sam increased his speed and pounded into me. Gray clamped my clitoral area between his fingers, and Colt nipped my erect nipple. Little black spots appeared in my sigh, and I moaned as I found my release. Sam rode my orgasm out until he came, releasing his warm, sticky seed inside me. Colt pulled my trembling body into his arms, kissing my head and rocking me from side to side. That will do, That will do, princess, that will do, he said. Gray licked my juices off his fingers, his eyes full of lust. I want to taste you too, he said, and he handed Colt a pack of wet wipes. Let's get you cleaned up, Colt said. Else we're never going to go shopping, Sam said. Gray pouted at not getting a turn. You will have your turn later, I told him. When we eventually got cleaned up and decent, we left to go shopping. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever expect to end up with 3 hungry wolves in one little lingerie store. Catherine POV. My face turned crimson as Sam held out a skimpy set of red lace lingerie. The triplets had pushed me into a lingerie store, something I didn't expect they would do. My gaze had traveled over the rows and rows of different colors, styles, and sizes. I immediately noticed that this wasn't just a store for the more conventional customer. There was a piece that was way out of my league and unconventional, just like the one Sam was holding out to me. Why, you want me to wear that? I stuttered, wide-eyed. Yeah, Sam said, looking all confused at me. He turned to me, and I immediately saw the huge bulge in his pants. I think it would look pretty on you. It is already making me horny. I can just imagine you standing there with this on. It would drive me and my wolves crazy. Yeah, it's already driving me nuts. Just think of me wearing that. The red color was beautiful, but the thin see-through top didn't leave much for the imagination, and my hands instinctively covered up my body. I can't see myself in that, I said, and I turned the wheelchair around and pushed myself away from him, seeking Gray. Gray had been standing and looking at something on the other side of the shop for a while now, and I was curious to see what he was looking at. I pushed my chair forward, past a section that was more in my comfort zone, and stopped. These bras and panties were more my style. I quickly went through the rows of different colors and pulled black, white, red, and dark blue lace panties and bra sets from the shelves. Happy with what I found, I pushed the chair toward where Gray was standing. Only what he was looking at made me shiver and blush. Is this what Gray is into? I raised my eyebrows, a bit shocked. Do you think you would be able to pull the look off? Gray asked behind me, and I yelped out of fright. You like this? I asked. He nodded. I wouldn't ever think that all people would like this, I said, stretching my hand out and touching the material. It's actual leather, he said, lifting the full-body suit off the rail. Are you into? I squeaked, and my eyes widened. Gray shook his head and squatted next to the wheelchair, searching my gaze. His eyes became serious, and I guess he was about to reveal something personal about himself. No, he said. But Colt is, I am more into role-playing in the bedroom and Sam is into toys and kinky sex. That's when I noticed the rows of different costumes, from skimpy maids dressed to nurses. There were so many different shapes and sizes that it was intimidating. Our preferences are very different from one another, Gray said. At the moment, we are still testing the waters with you. We are not sure what you like and what not. Gray's gaze shifted, and I followed his gaze, finding Colt and Sam standing a couple of feet from us, listening. "So you brought me here to see my reaction?" I asked, dropping my gaze to my hands. "That is one of the reasons," Colt admitted, coming closer and squatting down. "I am an alpha, a dominant one, and—" Colt stopped talking and I lifted my gaze to see his. Colt was looking at the floor, his forehead had worried lines embedded in it. Was he ashamed of what he liked in bed? Was he worried about how I would feel about his preference? Was he searching for the correct words to tell me? My heart hurt seeing him like this. He shouldn't feel ashamed. This is who he is. "Colt," I said, reaching out my hand and lifting his chin to look at me. "Tell me. I need to know." I needed to know what I would be expecting in the bedroom. I needed to know what he wanted. "I am a dom or a dominant," he said. "What does that mean?" I asked, searching for his cold orbs. "It means that you will be my submissive in my bed," he said. "You will be giving me absolute control over you. If you disobey me, you will be punished." "What kind of punishment are we talking about?" I asked. "It can be anything from spanking to ordering you not to come," he said. "It is up to me to decide your punishment." I couldn't imagine giving myself over to him. I have always been a strong-willed she-wolf. "Why are you worried, girl?" Kia suddenly mused, startling me. "You gave yourself over to him last night on more than one occasion. You didn't complain. All I remember is that you two were going on like two bloody bunnies." "Seriously?" I growled at her. "How do you always pop in at the least expected times?" Kia giggled, finding my annoyance funny. "Because I know when you need help," she said. "Well, I need help to be able to walk again and shift," I bit back. "The rest I would manage myself." "Are you sure?" she asked. I ignored her question and decided to ask her if she knew why the triplet wolves were acting all weird. Kia hesitated, and for a moment I thought she was about to ditch me again. "Kate, she said, "you are special." "So is every other wolf," I said. "No, I mean, you are very, very special," she said. "Remember I told you the goddess is very fond of you?" "Yeah," I said. It was the first time I met her and the same night I lost my ability to walk. "Well, the triplets, even though they are our mates, are also our protectors," she said. "But mates protect one another," I argued. "So, what's your point?" Kia sighed. "I don't have much time to explain this in detail," she said. "But the triplets each have a special function in your life. Sam is the warrior, Gray is your strategist, and Colt is the head. He glues everyone together." "That doesn't explain much," I said. "I know," she said. "And I am sorry. I will tell you everything on the blue moon." "That was Saturday night. Promise?" I said. "I have a lot of questions." "I promise," Kia said. "You can ask as many questions as you like, and I will answer them all." Kia's presence started to fade. "Just accept all three of your mates' fantasies," Kia yelled as her voice started fading. "You will love all of them." I turned my attention back to Colt, reaching out and taking his hand in mine. "Can we discuss this more privately?" I asked. "I feel a bit awkward about you all discussing it so openly in this shop. Anyone can hear us." "You are willing to discuss it?" Colt asked. I nodded. "I am," I said, raising my gaze to meet Sam's and Gray's. "But not in here. I promise I will listen, and I promise to keep an open mind. But I am not promising you that I will just submit to everything you want to do with me." Colt nodded and got to his feet. He smiled. He was happy with my decision. "We had better go," Sam said. "We still need to find a dress for Kate, and we have a lunch reservation at Latino's." Colt grabbed the underwear from my lap and stalked toward the pay point, and Gray steered me out of the shop. "You will love the next shop," Sam said. "The dresses there are phenomenal." Colt caught up the moment we were about to enter. The dress we found there made me feel like a real princess. Catherine POV. The boys drew straws to see who would be helping me behind the dressing curtains, and Gray won, to Colt and Sam's annoyance. The boys took me to an amazing boutique with all kinds of dresses and accessories. It was fun to watch them walk through rows and rows of dresses, each picking 2 or 3 dresses they liked and bringing them for me to fit. Gray then helped me in the dressing room, undressing and fitting the dresses. "I like the material and color of this dress," Gray said as I pulled the dress over my head. "It makes your eyes pop." "It is beautiful," I said, moving my hand over the dark green satin dress. It had a pencil skirt, and I wasn't very fond of the bottom. Who picked it? I asked. I think Sam picked this one, Gray answered. I fitted the dress over my waist, and Gray pulled me into his arms so that I could pull the dress straight. I could do this on my own and without his help. But the boys wanted to see what the dress would look like when I was standing. Gray carefully set me back down in my chair and went around the chair to help me with the zipper on the back. I looked at myself in the mirror and moved my body to have a better look at myself. Ready? He asked. I think Colt would love it. Was he more worried about Colt's thoughts than mine? I took a deep breath and nodded my head. Okay, I said. Let's do this. Gray opened the curtain, picked me up and carried me 2 steps forward, then slowly set my feet down on the floor and pulled me upright. My legs buckled under me, but Gray managed to keep me steady. He was carrying most of my weight in his arms. That dress does look beautiful, Sam purred as he sat next to Colt. Colt narrowed his eyes and knitted his eyebrows, a familiar gesture indicating he liked the dress but didn't love it. Nope, Colt said. It's not the one. I sighed. It was the 5th dress I had already fitted. Gray nodded, lifted, and carried me back, and Sam handed Gray the next dress. This time it was a cocktail dress with a low V-line. There is no way I would wear that, I said. Just fit it on, Gray said and sighed. Why? I asked. It's a waste of our time. I don't like that dress, and I refuse to have my breasts hang out. I am not a slut. Gray, Colt's voice came from behind the curtain, hand me the dress. Gray rolled his eyes and did as Colt said. Was that all the dresses? I asked. No, Sam said from behind the curtain. 2 more to go. Hand both of them to Gray, I said. I am now done playing dress up. Gray sighed. Sam huffed, but Colt agreed. Sam handed Gray the last 2 dresses, and immediately I was drawn to the navy blue dress. This one, Gray, I said, gesturing to the dress. Gray widened his eyes, surprised that I would pick something like that. This is the one, I said, touching the soft material. We did the whole process of getting dressed, but when Gray carried me out and I dropped the thin chiffon skirt, it flowed around me like water. It's different, Sam said, cocking his head sideways. Gray huffed. He didn't like this dress at all. It's a princess-style dress, I said, moving the skirt with my hands around me. The top of the dress covered everything perfectly, yet the dress allowed me to show off my shoulders. I like it, Colt said, and his brother's gazes snapped toward him. The style suits you. It is not heavy. It flows. You look like a real princess in that dress. Are you kidding me right now? Gray growled. You are just jealous that Kate didn't pick one of your dresses, Sam said, making Gray shut up. Who picked the dress? I asked. The 3 brothers looked at each other. It wasn't me, Sam said. Me neither, Gray said. Not me, Colt said. Then who was it? I asked. A small, gray-headed lady came forward, waving her hand at us. Sorry, it was me, she said, dropping her gaze. I didn't want to intrude on your shopping spree, but I couldn't help myself from picking up and bringing you this dress. Colt looked the old woman up and down and smiled. Don't be sorry, he said, getting to his feet. You just made my future Luna very happy. The old woman lifted her gaze and smiled back at him. She was happy that she could please him. I wonder who she was. Is she a pack member? I didn't recognize her scent. I am glad to be of assistance, she said, smiling. Gray rolled his eyes and sulked, then lifted and carried me back to the dressing room. In no time, we were done, and I was back in my own clothes. We found Colt and Sam already standing at the pay point. Colt had a pair of silver stilettos in his hands, and Sam was holding a silver clutch bag in his hands. Do you like it? Sam asked, handing me the bag. I nodded. It's beautiful, I said. I picked it? Sam said, and Colt glared at him. Okay, I had some help from the old wolf. I chuckled, shaking my head. She said these might be to your taste, Colt said, showing me the shoes. They were perfect, and they were my size. They are, I said, as my fingertips lined the delicate straps on the shoes. They were silver, too, with 6-inch heels. They had thin straps going over the bridge of the foot. They would have made me look taller if I could stand. How did she know that? Was she spying on me? On us? The boys made the purchase and we left for Latino's, where I received a not-so-happy surprise.